Hola, estudiantes. Make sure you have your Avancemos textbook, your note guide, and a pen or a pencil to fill out as you watch the video. We're going to talk about E to IE stem changing verbs. This is a new concept for us. Stem changes occur in the stem of the verb. The stem is everything except the ending. Here are some examples. I'll show you some verbs, and I want you to identify the stem as opposed to the ending of the verb. So we have two parts. The verb hablar we know is to talk or to speak. The ending we know is AR because we've already identified that there are three types of verbs. One of them is AR. Everything that is left once you take the ending off is called the stem. So HABL is the stem of the verb hablar. Comer, the ending is ER. Everything that's left is COM, and so COM is the stem and ER is the ending. And escribir is an IR verb, so the ending for escribir is IR, and the stem is ESCRIB. The verbs listed above do not have changes in the stem, so you have never changed anything in the stem when you conjugate. All right, pause the video and fill out parts A and B of your note guide at this time. Okay, the following verbs from this lesson have E to IE changes in the stem that occur in their present tense conjugations. So what that means is we've learned 6 new verbs. 3 of them are AR verbs, empezar, cerrar, and pensar. 2 of them are ER verbs, entender, querer, and 1 is an IR verb, preferir. All right, so let me just talk to you about these verbs here for a second. The black E that I have underlined in each one of them will change to IE when you conjugate. So let's take a look at these first two, empezar and entender. They both have multiple E's. You'll see this E at the beginning and this E in the middle. Okay, entender, you've got 3. 1, 2, 3. So in order to know which E to change when you have multiple E's, you're always going to stem change the E that is closest to the ending without being part of the ending. So here you notice there are 2 in empezar. This one is closest to the ending without being part of the ending. So the E that I've underlined is the one you'll change. Entender has 3 E's. So you'll notice here that this one in the middle that I've underlined is the one that's closest to the ending without being part of the ending. All right? So now I'm going to pull up these 6 verbs and their meanings, and you'll need to, once we go through this, you'll need to pause and fill out part C. So let's go through them first. Cerrar means to close. Empezar is to begin or to start. Pensar is to plan or to think. Entender, to understand. Querer, to want. And preferir, to prefer. Notice that I have highlighted in red the E that will stem change, and we'll get into that here in just a second. So pause the video and fill out part C. Okay, so discussing E to IE stem changing verbs. Stem changing verbs have regular AR, ER, and IR endings, which means that when you see an AR verb that is an E to IE stem changer, you will not only stem change that E to IE, but you'll also go ahead and add the appropriate endings. So an AR verb would have O, as, a, amos, an, and so on. So we'll practice those here in a second. For E to IE stem changing verbs, the E will change to IE in all forms except nosotros and vosotros. So pause the video and fill out part D of your note guide where it wants to know which verbs will not change. Which forms will not change. Okay, let's look at the verb cerrar. Cerrar means to close. The E in the stem will change to IE in all forms except nosotros and vosotros, even though we're not doing vosotros. Okay? So let's look at the yo form. We've done a couple things here. We wrote the C, we've changed the E to IE, we put back the rest of the stem, RR, we've dropped AR, and now we've added O in order to say I close, cierro. Okay? Let's look at the to form. If you want to say you close, you put the C in there, you change the E to IE, you add back the rest of the stem, which is RR, you drop the AR ending and add back AS, cierras, you close. The next one is he, she closes, you formal close, or even it closes, like if you're saying a store closes. So we put the C in there, we change the E to IE, we put back the rest of the stem, RR, we drop the AR and add A for an AR verb ending. So cierra, again, is he, she closes, you formal close, or it closes. Okay? Now remember, the only one that we're not going to change is nosotros. So we're putting the whole stem in, CERR. We did not stem change. We drop the AR and add amos, cerramos as we close. The last one, if we want to say they close or you guys close, we need to stem change. So we put the C in, change the E to IE, put the rest of the stem back, RR, drop the AR, and add AN for cierran. Now these verbs are also called boot verbs or shoe verbs. So stem changing verbs can be referred to as shoe verbs or boot verbs because if you look at the example here, you can draw what looks like a boot or a shoe around all of the forms that change. So the only one outside of the boot is nosotros and vosotros because they will not stem change. Okay? So pause the video and fill out part E. I also want you to draw the boot or the shoe around the ones that change. The verb querer means to want. It is also an E to IE stem changer. The difference here is that querer is an ER verb. So cerrar being an AR verb will have AR verb endings. But let's notice the endings here, the blue endings. Instead of having A's in place, we have E's. So quiero is I want, quieres is you want, quiere means he or she or you formal want, queremos is we want, and quieren is they want or you guys want. So just notice the difference in the endings. We still did the stem change, except in the nosotros form. So you could draw the shoe or the boot around this one as well. And I wanted to show you an example of an IR as well. Okay? The only difference between ER and IR verbs when conjugating is in the nosotros form. So remember, if it were an ER verb, it would end in EMOS. But because it's an IR verb, it ends in IMOS. So notice, stem change from E to IE in all forms except the nosotros, and you could draw the boot around the verbs in the forms that stem change on this verb as well. So if you want to say I prefer, prefiero, you prefer, prefieres, he or she prefers or you formal prefer, prefiere, preferimos is we prefer, notice we did not stem change there, and prefieren is they prefer or you guys prefer. Okay, here's some practice activities. Practiquemos número uno. Remember for the first one we need to stem change the E that I have underlined, and we need to conjugate and change the ending to match the yo. So I understand everything should be yo entiendo todo. Número dos, we want to stem change and we want to conjugate and make sure the ending matches the yo form. So I prefer to listen to music would be yo prefiero escuchar música. Número tres, we want to say my grandparents plan to speak. So we want to stem change the E and make sure we have an AR verb ending for they. So mis abuelos piensan hablar. Cuatro, we want to say my brother starts or begins to run. We need to stem change the E that's underlined, and we need to make sure the ending matches the he form. So mi hermano empieza a correr. Cinco, the store closes soon. We want to stem change the E, and we want to make sure that we match the ending as though la tienda is like saying she or ella. So la tienda cierra pronto. Número seis, we want to say Ava wants to go to the gym. We're going to stem change the E that is underlined and make sure the ending matches Ava for an ER verb. So Ava quiere ir al gimnasio. Let's do just a few more and then you can do the practice on the note guide. So I close the door would be yo cierro la puerta. We prefer French fries would be nosotros preferimos papas fritas. Now, I did not stem change preferir in this case because nosotros does not change. So, preferimos, do not stem change. Número tres, my friends, think about my idea. So we have to stem change here. We're going to say, mis amigos piensan en mi idea. Cuatro, the class begins today. We want a stem change here. We're going to say, la clase empieza hoy. Now I changed that as though la clase is like saying she because la clase is feminine. Cinco, Carlos understands the difficult concept. Carlos entiende el concepto difícil. And then the last one should say número seis, and it wants to ask, do you want to watch TV? So we're going to stem change, and we're going to say, ¿Quieres tú mirar la televisión? And notice we should have an accent mark on the O in televisión. I apologize. Okay? So, if you have additional questions about E to IE stem changing verbs, please see the notes provided on page 199. You need to finish up the note guide. Part F still needs to be completed. And don't forget that you will have a flipped mini quiz when you